Welcome back to AMTV News. I'm your host, Topher Morrison. It is Thursday, January 10th, 2013. Alex Jones shoots Piers Morgan and ratings soar for once.
Tonight, I'll go head-to-head with a man who actually wants to deport me.
And I'm here to tell you, 1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms. We will not relinquish them. Do you understand? Stalin took the guns. Mao took the guns. Fidel Castro took the guns. Hugo Chavez took the guns.
Many of us laughed, cried, squirmed, and got out of our chairs to a round of applause for Alex Jones. Quite literally, when he ate Piers Morgan's alive on national TV. And for once, trending was used with CNN and wasn't immediately followed by the word down. Or in Morgan's case, lowest ever in a primetime slot. Piers, in an interview with Politico, felt that, quote, kind of vitriol, hatred, and zealotry really quite scary. There's got to be a level of discourse that can rise above what happened last night. It was undignified and unedifying. Really, Piers? This is before the Alex Jones interview. We'll call it Exhibit A.
America is not the Wild West that you are depicting.
You're an unbelievably stupid man, aren't you? What a ridiculous argument. You have absolutely no coherent argument whatsoever. You don't give a damn, do you, about the gun murder rate in America?
This is a guest after the interview. We'll call it Exhibit B.
It is pathetic. It is ridiculous that you are allowed, I don't care what the justification is, that you are allowed in this country to own a semi-automatic weapon, much less a handgun. But what do you need a semi-automatic weapon for? The only reason I think you need it is, Piers, challenge Alex Jones to a boxing match, show up with a semi-automatic that you got legally, and pop him.
I'd love to see that. In uniform.
Piers Morgan is not above being a bully as long as he has someone with a lower testosterone than himself in the room. While Alex is no stranger to publicly punking someone, he's obviously unable to put his megaphone down even when it isn't there. His inability to find a lower gear may have turned off as many minds as it set ablaze. So here's what Alex Jones did right.
While the government buys 1.6 billion bullets, armored vehicles, tanks, helicopters, Predator drones, armed, now in U.S. skies, being used to arrest people in North Dakota, the Second Amendment isn't there for duck hunting. It's there to protect us from tyrannical government and street thugs.
According to Noah Webster of dictionary fame in 1888, quote, before a standing army can rule, the people must be disarmed, as they are in almost every kingdom in Europe. The supreme power in America cannot enforce unjust laws by the sword, because the whole of the people are armed and constitute a force superior to any bands of regular troops that can be, on any pretense, raised in the United States. If our laws left gun rights at sporting alone, we wouldn't be much better off than early Nazi Germany. And here's why. A half-century after Webster's words, the sporting purpose idea was part of the Nazi weapon law of 1938. It allowed only those persons whose trustworthiness is not in question and who can show a need for a gun permit to own guns. The 1938 law forbid Jews from, quote, manufacturing or dealing of firearms and or ammunition. Ultimately, guns are a right that precedes government in virtually all religions or philosophies. That of self-defense, it's undeniable. Alex Jones appropriately brings up the Mexico weapons ban, which has now nearly 60,000 dead since 2005, and also harbors 4 of the top 10 deadliest cities in the world. Alex also highlighted that the UK is the violent crime capital of Europe. Chicago is the deadliest in the United States, and it has very strict gun laws. Brazil's gun laws are highly restrictive, according to gunpolicy.org. Licenses require renewal every 3 years. You have to be over 25, and there is zero constitutional guarantee. It has 15 of the top 50 deadliest cities in the world. And Alex Jones ultimately brought up the most apropos argument available. 292 million people died in the last century due to government. Piers Morgan later on told Politico that Alex Jones works off of fear. Morgan and others have continually raised the specter of gun violence as some sort of pressing issue. when in fact Alex Jones brings up...
Hey, wait a minute. I have FBI crime statistics that come out a year late, 2011. 20+% crime drop in the last 9 years. Real violent crime, because more guns means less crime.
And Reason.com, among others, reminded us mass shootings are essentially flat. Who's fear-mongering now? And Jones also brings up something that here at AMTV, we have been harping on for a long time.
How about Prozac? You know the number one, oh, that's a big sponsor, isn't it? Or that whole class of drugs.
Let me ask you a question.
Oh, got to cut that off, don't you? Don't want to talk about the U.S. number one cause of death is suicide now, because they give people suicide mass murder pills.
Amidst a record-breaking 2012, Big Pharma has paid out more in settlements than at any other time in history. There's been no jail and no connection. Mass shootings were an aberration prior to 1980 and before the introduction of antidepressants. They traditionally occurred within families or during the commission of other felonies. Christopher Green has highlighted Hollywood gets a pass, probably because they put together wonderful feel-good montages.
Columbine.
Newtown.
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 How many more?
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
And video games, other than the opprobrium of some culture crusaders out there, are relatively left unscathed. Piers Morgan concentrated on the disparity between 35 gun-related deaths in his home country of the United Kingdom and the over 11,000 deaths in America. Do ever newer and larger statistics somehow invalidate our timeless right to arms? Jones counters this, offering there were 10,000 stabbings in the UK, and knives were soon to be banned and are in fact quite restricted in addition to firearms. Where does one end, or better yet, begin? Morgan begins with the .223 M4 carbine, a gun used in at least 3 mass shootings, a gun we relish shooting here at AMTV. AK-47s are also fun. There I am.
Oh, we're in. I like.
But the M4, obviously a terribly scary weapon used in Aurora, Colorado, the largest mass shooting in U.S. history, Jones points out that most gun deaths are gang-related, i.e. a result of the drug war. In other words, dealers killing dealers. Barely anyone has talked about that. And if you look at the top 50 deadliest cities in the world, you'll see a trail of tears running from South America through to the United States. The margins and shock statistics is what Morgan seems to be interested, hence, largest shooting in U.S. history. A heartbleeder of a headline, but having nothing to do with long-term trends, as we've mentioned. Why do we need this, they say? Why do we need to restrict it, is our rebuttal. The onus is on the regulator because the Constitution guarantees this right to Americans. There is nothing ambiguous about shall not be infringed. As Alex Jones mentions appropriately, this is sacrosanct.
Alex. Because there's criminals, I don't lose my rights, Piers. Because there's criminals, I don't lose my rights.
We need this to form well-trained militias, if and when they are needed, as the final check upon government. To say the power rests with the people means absolutely nothing without a powerful weapon in the hands of the common man to give it meaning. The National Guard and the Foreign Legions of the United States are antithetical to the founders' wishes. Standing armies, whether conscripted or volunteers like ours, are a looming threat. Gun ownership, especially scary gun ownership, which again counts for a small fraction of gun violence, is the ultimate and final check. Keeping guns out of the hands of the common man is quite literally a way of keeping him enslaved. Because remember, the first gun laws weren't for citizens, but for recently freed Southern slaves. Capturing every corner of the alternative media, watch AMTV News Monday through Friday. For more videos like these, visit amtvmedia.com, home in the AMTV network, the voice of independence.